very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum. We are coming to you live on Radio 1 FM 90, broadcasting from the Central Building here in the heart of our city, Kampala. Live on our website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. Radio 1 is also live on the different radio listening apps, which you can obtain from the App Store of your smartphone. You look for any of those radio listening apps, find Radio 1 FM 90, and as long as you have an internet connection, you'll be able to listen to us from anywhere across this globe. Well, we give you yet again another opportunity to listen via your TV set. If you have a DSTV connection, look for audio channel 897. We do encourage you to be part of our discussion, and please feel free to share with us via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Send us a text message. It could be a question or comment, and the guests in studio will be responding to you in due course. Today we'll be looking at policing and human rights in the context of Uganda. Are we building democratic policing, looking at where we are heading? We know the police plays a key role in our community as far as ensuring that we have security. We also have peace. We also have, a semblance of, general peace in our country, so to say. They keep law and order in a number of ways, but there are concerns sometimes when things do not go the right way. Now, some stakeholders have been following closely the developments within the police force, including professionalism and the manner in which they are handling issues to do with human rights, looking at the doctrine and holding people accountable, and they have come out with some thematic areas that need actually to be focused on as part of the ongoing discussion. So today we'll be looking at some of those thematic areas: accountability, professionalism, human rights. We'll also be looking at the national level challenges and promising processes, practices that are coming in from our police, and we'll also be looking at electoral security and civic protection, knowing that we're heading towards the next elections in 2026, which is just a few months away. I have three guests on this talk show today to discuss these issues. Commissioner of Police, Anatoli Muleterwa, Head of Community Policing Department, Uganda Police. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you on the show, Afande Muleterwa.
Good evening, my brother Kenneth, and happy being on the show.
Thank you.
Good listening.
Thank you so much for joining us. In studio, Miss Hope Bagota. She's a Senior Human Rights Officer, Director of Monitoring and Inspection at the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you.
Good evening.
Also in studio, Mr. Muhammadi Ndifuna, Executive Director, Justice Access Point, veteran human rights defender and campaigner in our country, very keenly following issues to do with police accountability. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
All right. Let me begin with you, Mr. Muhammadi Ndifuna. When you talk about democratic policing, because it's something that I see that is cutting across this particular document that you came with for this particular discussion, what are we looking at?
Well, to be able to skin this concept of democratic policing, one would need then to point to the pillars that constitute democratic policing. Democratic policing rests on the following pillars. One is the pillar of accountability. For you to be able to say our force or service is democratic, it should be accountable. That means if there are excesses, there should be accountability for those excesses. Accountability is one of the strongest components. These could be internal accountability processes, or could be external accountability processes. In both cases, there has to be a mechanism to hold officers accountable. Two, there must be professionalism, meaning that actually officers should be officers that have been properly trained and discharge their duties in accordance with the tenets of a professional force. That means they will desist from use of excessive force. That means they will be able to handle civilians as civilians. Those are things that one would expect in a democratic policing. Three, it must be responsive meaning that actually if there are challenges and needs and situations where the force is expected to respond, it could be a question of criminality, it could be a situation of a disaster, the police force should be a responsive force. And then the other pillar is the pillar of respect of human rights. Meaning, therefore, the police force should be one that respects human rights. And that means this charge is work in accordance with the international If you have all those pillars intertwined and working collaboratively together, what you will see is a democratic force, a democratic police force.
All right, let me ask you very quickly, when you look at the Ugandan police force, is it a democratic police force? I think that's the most important thing for people to understand, basing on the thematic areas that you've pointed out.
Well, of course, we're not yet there. The democratic policing in this context is aspirational. It is describing the kind of police force we want as citizens. We want a police force that is accountable, that is responsive.
We are still at the level of
rights.
Defining.
It may not necessarily be defining. It could be that we haven't gotten there yet. Because indeed there are elements of achievement. Give it to the police force that there are milestones that have been registered, and those should not be swept under the carpet. Those should be celebrated. But while saying that, there are significant shortfalls that have to be addressed, and those then provide the inspiration for us to be able to engage on this matter.
All right. Let's now go to Ms. Bagota from the Uganda Human Rights Commission. You come from a department that inspects but also monitors. And Uganda Human Rights Commission documents. What is your take on the democraticness of our police force, if I may put it?
Thank you very much. Good evening, our dear listeners, and thank you for the opportunity. Just like Mr. Ndifuna has said, there have been strides that have been taken, because it would be a lie to say that nothing has been done. Strides have been taken to see that human rights are implemented by the Uganda Police Force, but there is still much more that we can do. For example, in our monitoring visits, when we visit these different places of detention, I would start by saying that you realize that there's an entire directorate of human rights and legal in the Uganda Police Force. The Uganda police officers themselves are trained on human rights in their training schools and also continuous training while they are on the job. There is a bid to recruit. There may still not be enough of officers as we would require, but they continue to strive towards that. When you go to a number of urban centers or urban places, you will see that they've put buildings that can be friendly, the new modern policies that are being constructed, that they will cater for the different categories of people, even those that are differently abled. And that shows that they're working towards a goal. But still, there are still elements of issues that have not yet been done right. For example, our reports indicate that many a times the complaints that we receive majorly all are usually against the Uganda police. But also this, bearing in mind that the police is always the first point of entry for anybody. If anybody has any dispute or encounters a criminal, the first office that is going to come to their mind is police, regardless of the category of this particular offense. And also, as the Uganda Human Rights Commission, we've continued to sensitize the general public itself on their rights and responsibilities, and also engaging with the different officers through trainings, and particularly emphasizing the human rights-based approach in planning and doing our work, and as well as in development. Meaning that approach, we put the human being at the center of whatever we are doing. The work you're doing is for the betterment of the human being. So when you're doing that work, like Mr. Ndifuna said, be accountable. They've religiously produced an annual crime report each year. showing us where the issues are, what are the crimes, because that also speaks now to us as a community or as a country, and also informs interventions by both the state and non-state actors. And also, they do their community policing, which brings in the element of participation. I cannot give what I don't have, though also ignorance of the law is no defense. And also continuously reminding them that as state actors or even as non-state actors, you are supposed to do your work in line with what the law provides. All of us as state actors, while implementing the different mandates that we are implementing, we have to respect human rights, and that is there's no argument about that one. When you're doing your work, you have to respect human rights. That has been echoed. And also, when you're doing your work, we've continued to train and sensitize them. Let's do it in a way that is non-discriminatory. Let whoever comes to you, they are able to get a service. That's why you go to an office in your particular location, and there's an officer or majority of officers can speak a language that you understand. So what if I don't know, if I can't speak English, then I can be helped. If I'm a lady and it's there's a lady officer to attend to me. If it's the child, they have the different units. The child and family protection unit, they have the unit that is the police for the police itself, the specialized professional standards unit, yes. And also we have continued to urge them that in as much as is that policy unit that also polices police, make its findings or its work public, for there to be a sense of accountability from the public, to feel like indeed if an officer becomes errant, there's somebody that can put them in check, and that also in turn will continue to build trust. And also as the commission, we also continue to advocate to the communities as well. Does everything have to end up in police? We have the different structures across that have been put in place. You have your local council courts, and then you have things that you can handle as families, as elders, with opinion leaders. You have the courts of law, you have police. But also not forgetting that in as much as we are saying all this, these require resources. They require the human resource. We're in the era of technology. How are we keeping up with all these things to see that police can move to that democratic policing that we all aspire to? Because at the end of the day, like I said, the human being has to be at the center. All this is for the human being. Thank you very much.
All right, let's now go to Afande Anatoli Muleterwa, who is on the line. Afande Muleterwa, you've had comments from the panelists here in the studio, Mr. Ndifuna Muhammadi and Ms. Bagota from the Uganda Human Rights Commission. You've done well in some places, but there is need to improve in others, especially how you deal with people, how you handle issues here and there. I'm sure you've listened to them. Let's hear your response. As far as democratization of the police is concerned, are we heading in the right direction, Afande Muleterwa?
Thank you very much, my brother Kenneth, and thank you very much, Mr. Ndifuna and my sister there in the studio. Unfortunately, I've missed having an interaction face-to-face with you, but indeed, your presentation is on. Your presentation is part of our stride. The presentation is all a collective responsibility and our desire for us to be there. Nonetheless, all what is said is practice. But like you can say that you go every Sunday to pray, not because that you don't know God, but you always go there to seek for repentance wherever you think you have not done well. So, whatever has been talked about, and what the principles that have been talked, we practice them. And that shows that there is total goodwill of the institution, there is total goodwill of government, and above all, each and every one of us plans to do the same. But like you can see, when you plan to go to the garden, you cannot plan to go to the garden to bite or throw a hole on your toe. It happens by accident. Any of the mentalities that come by, they come as incidentals, but not what is practiced. Secondly, all what has been said, Rome has never been built in one day. And our police has been here for about 100 plus years. yet in places where we have seen police having existed for centuries, even make worse mistakes than us. So we need really to applaud ourselves, especially given the goodwill and commitment of government and even the police officers. That director of human rights has indeed put everything that we are putting in place. We have the committee, even this, first of all, this engagement alone of the police officer plus our partners there is a form of accountability where we are explaining what we do, how we do, when we do, why we do. Now, dwelling on what we have not done or what we have done badly, it may not really overwhelm, but for life, that is how things go. Then, on the measures that have been put in place, that Madam in the studio has emphasized on the various parameters that we put, but also on a routine basis where one, I personally, plus the directors in the police force, go to conduct monthly, weekly, community polling in order to generate feedback. Two, there is always a press conference on which we have the weekly press conference besides the annual crime report that is issued. All of those are measures through which one can be able to do that. Why do we do it? We need to endear ourselves to the community and even give reassurance that we are part and parcel from, part and parcel of them, that we come from them. But whatever goes wrong, it has to be something which is swept under the carpet. That's why Madam there has talked about the PSU. It is there to hold individual police officers accountable for their misdeeds, because no one plans to say if you go to quell a riot, you use live bullets against the unarmed civilians. Or even you are arresting somebody, you should begin kicking him. Or if somebody is detained, then deny him food. No. That is why all of that is put in black and white, and therefore everybody can have access to whatever. But I want to give reassurance both to the panelists here and even the general public. We are committed to working with everybody in ensuring that the police fully accountable as the perimeter. But those are ideal situations. How I wish, because the police comes from the community. What about if a scenario where the community stands against the police and end up being beaten? Who is that accountable? We have seen in the past where the police personnel have lost their lives, where the police personnel have been mob acted against. What happened? So really, when we are talking about these perimeters, we need to broaden the discussion to get involved, especially knowing what kind of situation are we talking about with the police. What in? What precipitates what? Because indeed that the lady there has spoken. What she has told you is extremely right. There is no policeman who comes out who is out doing all of that. But what happens? Just like you are eating food, don't you bite your tongue? Does it mean that you have decided to bite the tongue? These are incidentals that we really, when we are to build a formidable institution, we should not use trust. We should not backlash.
All right. All the line, Mr. Fundamental Lecturer will be coming back to you. Now, Mr. Ndifuna, let's try to break down these thematic areas. And I want to begin with accountability. Here we say I'm looking at strengthening oversight, transparency, and community participation in the police. Can you help us to understand that much better? What exactly do you want to see?
Thank you very much. Already in the initial conversations, one issue that came out imminently is the existence of an internal oversight mechanism. That is the Professional Standards Unit. That, given that is the case, one then needs to interrogate what it does and how it does it and the limits it suffers from. Now, one needs to understand that the Professional Standards Unit, as of now, lacks effect of law. It is simply administrative. Two, that it is being internal, it has limitations in terms of oversight. How far does it stretch? will it, for example, investigate the IGP or the deputy IGP or the senior commissioners of police or directors, and so on and so forth? Those are questions that are interesting to look into. Now, the other is that what we have in Uganda is simply internal oversight. The external independent oversight mechanism for police is evidently lacking. So you need to take examples from South Africa and Kenya to understand what we are talking about. For example, in Kenya, there is the Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA. And in South Africa, there is a commission specifically for oversight. Now, in our case, while we have the Professional Standards Unit, it is one, internal; two, it lacks legal effect; three, its reach in terms of catchment base is contentious. So that's one of the things that one needs to understand. The other issue that one needs to understand is how is it working anyway? One immediately is accosted with the challenges that the Professional Standards Unit and the allied mechanism like the police courts are encountering. One of the challenges is actually resource constraint. Some of these court sessions have not been able to sit owing to logistical challenges. So these are issues that we should not sweep under the carpet, because the police needs support to be able to do a good job. The mechanisms that exist are there, they can be strengthened, and others put so that actually we have the police that we desire.
All right. When you speak about human rights, you say embedding dignity, equality, and justice in policing practices.
Yes, I mean, the police, just like any other institution, indeed the government itself, is obliged to respect the international human rights treaties that it has ratified. And that means also its agencies, including the police, are obligated to do so. Now, what does it mean? That the laws that govern institutions like the police should be such that they respect human rights. One would need to interrogate, for example, the Police Act. Is it consistent with the regional and international human rights mechanism? The answer is no. There are aspects that require revisiting. And as non-state actors, we have flagged off some of the areas, for example, in the Police Act that needs amendment to bring it in line with the regional and international human rights standards. And good enough, our government, alongside other East African governments, have committed to what we call the common standards of policing in East Africa. And the first standard is that actually they will commit to ensure that the police is governed by a legal framework that respects international and regional human rights standards. So what we are asking is not outside what the government has committed to do to deliver.
All right. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're going to go for a break now. When we return, we'll hear more from Ms. Bagota from the Uganda Human Rights Commission, but also go back to Mr. Anatoli Muletera, especially to see if they also understand the challenges that they face and how they are proposing actually to deal with them. Now, stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. Keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line. I can already see a number of comments coming in. The number is 0703 090 090. Spectrum continues after this. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum live on Radio 1 FM 90. Our topic of discussion today, policing and human rights in the Ugandan context. We are looking at whether the Ugandan police force is democratic in the manner in which it operates, in the manner in which it treats you, the ordinary Ugandan, in manner in which it handles issues to do with human rights. And I have three guests today. Commissioner of Police Anatoli Muletera, Head of Community Policing Department, Uganda Police Force, who joins us on the line. In studio, Mr. Muhammadi Ndifuna, Executive Director, Justice Access Point. And now coming on the microphone, we have Ms. Hope Bagota, Senior Human Rights Officer, Directorate of Monitoring and Inspections, Uganda Human Rights Commission. Now, professionalism. You earlier on talked about the issue of advancing the doctrine training and ethical standards within the police force. And Afande Muletera also hinted on that particular fact, but he also asked a key question. What happens after they have been taught all these things in their schools, how to handle people and things like, how come we continue to see skirmishes where people are manhandled? We hear people are being arrested, detained beyond 48 hours. We see men arresting women. You also talked about how it should be a woman to handle a woman in case the police is carrying out operations. What is the missing link, Ms. Bagota?
Thank you very much for that. The missing link here would be, number one, I earlier hinted on it when I first spoke, issues to do with resource. What is the policing ratio in our country? And what are we doing towards that? Are we, as the state, because the state is the primary duty bearer when it comes to human rights, are we equipping these police officers with number one, the numbers that they require, number two, the gadgets they will need for their particular work, and then also that is also coupled sometimes also our own individuality as people that are serving, because you are trained about these particular notions when you're in training school. You get continuous training from different stakeholders. It can be UHRC, it can be just Justice Access Point, and taking you through all this that is required of you as an officer. But when it comes to the actual implementation, what are you doing? And that's why if you look like at the Torture Act, it was moved to personal liability. Why it was moved to personal Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act? Why they moved to personal liability? So that they remove that me acting with impunity and hiding under the cloak of I am a government official or I'm a civil servant. But rather now it takes you on as you get the individual liability as a person. Then also us as the community. Remember that whenever we're talking about rights come with responsibilities. At any cost. If it's a state, yes, it's the primary duty bearer. It has its obligations, but even us internal state, as the citizens in the state, we also have our duties and responsibilities. As citizens, what is our relation with police, for example? Do we rise up in arms and hit the police with stones, beat them up, or raid? How are we? What is that correlation like? That's why we keep saying that we're not yet there yet. We need to continue having this dialogue and also calling for mindset change in ourselves as well, and also for the police to act within the parameters of the law. And where the challenges are, to explain to the wananchi. I think sometimes the missing link is that feedback from the police to the wananchi. If it's a constraint, because when we've done our monitoring, sometimes you find, for example, at a police station, they have maybe only one border or two, and they're serving a big area. So when you go to ask them to arrest, so our recommendation has always been, government equip this police to do its particular work. Provide the motorcycles, provide the kabangalis, provide the fuel, so that these people can be able to do what is required of them. Then also us as the wananchi, we have an equal responsibility to treat the police officers with the utmost dignity, just like they also have the duty to treat us with the utmost dignity. If it is issues of that there are lesser women in the force, we encourage, let's get as many as we can on board, and let's continue to dialogue. If it's community policing, it should not be a one-off. It should be something that is continuous, like Afande earlier on alluded to, that in as much as we continue going to church, crime continues, or to our mosques, crime is still here with us. So meaning that human rights work is work in progress. You cannot just sit and say, no, we have arrived. Even the countries we look up to and think are already there. No, it is continuous work in progress. The important thing is to always improve and not go retrospective in our work.
All right, I want to bring in Afande Muletera now, but first of all, let's hear from Mr. Ndifuna, so that Afande Muletera is able to respond to all these issues. Electoral security and civic protection. We are going to a hot electoral season, going by what we have seen already and the issues that have emerged. I'm sure you've been following. What are your major asks to the police force, which we know is also going to work jointly with the army, because that has already been told to us?
We are not asking for anything new. We are simply asking that the police commits to the standards that it's obligated to follow. And these standards are international, regional, and national standards embedded within the framework of law and policies. So our asking may not be that much. Just respect the law and work in a manner that is consistent with the standards that you have committed to deliver. And this straddles across many things, including protection of civil liberties. And this include freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of expression, which sometimes actually bring the ordinary citizen in conflict with the law and the police into play. So this taxes the resources, abilities, and the patience of police, and calls for professionalism. So again, we'll expect that the police will act in a manner that is compliant and respecting of human rights. We would expect that the police would conduct itself in a professional manner, would require the police to be responsive, because during the electoral period there will be violations, and like my colleague said, the police is the first port of call. If there are violations, before one thinks of anywhere else to go, they will think of the police. Notwithstanding the challenges that we discuss about. These challenges are challenges we raise because we want a better police. It doesn't mean the police is not good at all. We also expect that the police will be accountable. And this means the police should work on improving its accountability mechanisms even during this period. There are backlogs of cases are waiting to be disposed of within the police disciplinary courts. Now that is not very exciting. That has to be gotten out of the way, because if the internal mechanisms are going to be functional, then they should be expeditious to give the ordinary citizens the confidence that indeed these mechanisms are working, and therefore they can repose their trust in them.
All right. Now let's go to a fundamental lecturer. A fundamental lecturer, you've been...
Yes, I can get you, Kenneth. Yes? Hello, Kenneth.
Yes, I can hear you now. Can we get your response to some of these issues that have come across?
There are no issues. They are pertinent matters and concern that we all need to share. The only thing is that I need to emphasize about simple issues. One, that the coming elections, like any other elections that the Uganda police has secured, will be no more. That's like any other election that has been there. So I want to call upon all Ugandans, let's call and speak for no more no more elections, like any other elections that we have got. However, I want to call upon those who wish us back. Please stop it, because we are fellow Ugandans. We need to work hard, we need to work hand in hand, we need to secure our country together, we need to appreciate each other's effort. Two, when talking about all what my colleagues there have said,
we've lost Afande Muletera there. He has just gone off. We are going to try our best to get him back and continue with this discussion. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90, but keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703-090-090, and we'll continue with that this discussion. And as we look for Afande Muletera to actually get back on the phone to be able to continue with the discussion. But we have had some of the responses that were actually coming in. And so I want to come to you, Ms. Baguta. In terms of the election season that is coming up, the Electoral Commission is following closely what is happening. We would like to hear from you any particular recommendations you want to make to the police force.
Just like Mr. Ndifuna had already alluded to, Elections are a cycle. There's the pre-activities, there's the D-Day activities or during, and there's also post-activities. It is something that we've been planning and know is going to happen. So in our policing, in ensuring that there's security, because human rights and security go hand in hand, but can we stick to the standards that we have held ourselves to when we are doing this policing work? Issues to do with use of force. We know that force should be minimal. It is the probability you apply, is it called for? And it is usually always, the law says it should always be the last resort when everything else has failed. The different political parties, the different candidates, and even us as the general public, in engaging in this electoral process, let's not forget that there is a law that we are supposed to all be bound by, and the law is there to set boundaries for us that we can operate in and avoid chaos and lawlessness. People should move out and do their campaigns. Peace should be, we all call upon peace, all of us require and need peace. Come elections time, people have the free will, go out there and elect. Shouldn't be intimidation of voters so they don't get to the poll to cast their votes. There shouldn't be inequality in who gets more coverage and who doesn't get coverage, to see that the election at the end of the day is free and fair, and all the stakeholders across the board are playing their part, doing their roles under the law as is required.
All right. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We have comments coming in from the listeners as we also wait to see if Afande Muletera can join us. But I'm going to read out some of the comments that are coming in from the listeners. One of them comes in from Boki Fred, who writes and says, police is always asking for transport, else they will not handle your matter because we don't have transport. It is my responsibility as a complainant to provide transport? That's a comment from Boki Fred there with that situation in the police force. Then we have another comment. Another comment coming in from Papa Kuntas, who says, can police handle suspects humanely, but not throwing them under the car seats of pickups and trampling on them? That's a comment from Papa Kuntas there, who is also listening to us. Then we have another comment. Hello, Kenneth. We once told the police officer who assaulted the suspect and OC, moreover, that we would report him to PSU, and he offered us directions. He told us, I can actually lead you to that office. I don't know what that means. He actually said, we can take you to where that office is. You'll tell us what that means. Then we have another comment. Good evening, Spectrum. Kenneth, thanks for bringing your guests to discuss this important issue in the minds of most Ugandans. This police of ours is utterly partisan and indeed lack of proper training. I have witnessed this evening where there was fire emergency around Chivuli, and this water tanker which was heading for that emergency kept on stopping, asking people for direction. This is unprofessionalism of the highest order. That's the comment coming in from Moffat there, who is also listening to this particular discussion. Well, those are some of the comments that are already in, but we expect more to come in. And I want to begin with you, Mr. Ndifuna, your responses, but also we will hear from you, Ms. Bagota, as we also get Afande Muletera back online. Mr. Ndifuna.
Yes.
You heard the comments from the listeners.
Yes. Of course, the question of whether the professional standards unit can deliver or not is implied in that question that the listener posed. It's debatable. But the other larger question would be, are citizens aware of the workings of the professional standards unit and the disciplinary courts? Do they attend and observe the proceedings of these courts? So the only way that one can diffuse this kind of perception is for the police to handle these processes in a manner that is as transparent as possible, because the police, whether we like it or not, the police is dealing with a perceptual problem. Give it to them. They are making a number of efforts to try and reconnect the police with the public through community policing initiatives. But you are undoing a process that has accumulated over the years. So our word to Afande Mletera is that they should not tire or even feel unappreciated. They should only understand that they are trying to undo a perceptual problem that has occurred over the years, and that takes a bit of time, and that means they should continue building bridges, and in order to earn the trust and confidence of the public.
Let's hear from you, Ms. Bagota, the responses you had from the listeners.
Thank you. The responses we've heard from the listeners, some of these kind of comments are what fuel sometimes violations, because as a trained officer that is worthy of your salt, you would not tell a suspect that let me lead you to where the PSU is, because what message then are you telling this suspect? That you're above the law, the PSU does not work? So again, going back to us as police officers, let's check ourselves. Remember that you're in the public domain. You're dealing with somebody that is already troubled. An interpretation of your dealings reflects very highly on the state. And remember, at the end of the day, the state, like as I had said earlier, is the primary duty bearer, and it's held accountable to the different international, regional, and national standards that it has committed itself to. The comment on asking for transportation and whatnot, these were the things we are speaking about, that police has to be funded. Yes, because it is the first point of entry for anything. For any complaint, it is the first point of entry. And if you want a responsive police, it has to be well facilitated to be responsive as we would want it to be. But rather calling it out to be responsive on an empty pocket is a bit also self-defeating.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Let's now to go to Afande Mletera. Afande Mletera. Let's now, okay, I'm told we're still trying to get Afande Mletera. As we do that, I understand these thematic issues that we are reflecting on, Mr. Ndifuna, will be among the key issues you'll be discussing in a meeting that you have organized soon, which you call the second annual convention. What exactly is going to be happening, and how does that feed into this discussion we are having today?
Thank you very much. This conversation we are having definitely is a precursor to what we will be having on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we'll be having the annual convention on policing in Uganda. That will be the second convention we'll be having on the theme of democratic policing and public trust, with a particular focus on the interplay between normative standards, that means international, regional, and national standards on policing, and the lived realities. And what we've been talking about here, being pushed under the seat on pickups when you are arrested and being sat on, definitely is a case of lived reality versus the standards that we have talked about, standard of respecting human rights, human dignity, standards about accountability. So all these issues that are interrelated and interlocked, and therefore this conversation we are having definitely plugs into the conversation. And that's why actually would encourage members of the public to participate in this event. It is of course by invitation, but we have opened up the participation of the public through Zoom. It will be open, and they are welcome to participate fully. It will be bring together stakeholders across the country, but also we'll be having participants from South Africa and Kenya.
All right. Afande Mletera, you went off in a few minutes ago, but I'm sure you've been following, and you had the concerns that were put forward by the listener. If you can give us your quick response.
What are those concerns? You know, I went off air and I could not get them. Sure.
Concerned about the manner in which you sometimes treat people who have been arrested. You throw them under the pickup truck. You step on them. Some people are wondering. They are wondering why the police, for instance, asks for transport wherever they report an issue. They want you to respond to them. You're telling them that you don't have transport. Is it their responsibility actually to get the transport? There's another listener, Moffat, who actually says you're a partisan police. They have witnessed something that you are unprofessional. Today he witnessed something where there was a fire outbreak, and instead of rushing to the place, you were busy asking for directions as if you had not collected them. So there are a number of issues that come out which touch on how you operate as a police today.
One, it is extremely regrettable if those incidents will happen. Indeed, some of them happen, especially like carrying aspects in our Kavangali. This is what we have. Would you want us to grab people's buses? Would you want us to grab people's cars? That's what we have. That is the reality. So we cannot deny that. And yet we need to convey somebody. Somebody is being linked. If somebody is being suspected. And at the same time, there are the very people who complain that we ask money for fuel. But yet we have our Kavangali. What should we do? What should we do? Those are the means that are our disposal. However, all is not lost. There is high plans of improving on all that because of the commitment and ensuring that we do what we do in whatever makes us all responsive. But I want to call upon all Ugandans. Please, this continuous blame game does not help us, does not take us too far. Uganda is ours. We all need to have a role play and ensure that we do it in a manner that is more suitable, more humane. For any police officer who acts ultra-viriously, is held responsible. It is good. The lady from Uganda Human Rights Commission has talked about our PSU. Yes, it may not be able to suit the standards that Mr. Ndifuna is adding for, but that's what we have. It is better than nothing. They were better say, that is what is available, and therefore we need to uphold that. As you know, and we get more resources, we shall reach there. Now, about the issue of money, that is the standard of the Uganda police. Those are individual things. And that's why the professional standard body is there to ensure that anybody who acts out of bias of expectation from the public is held accountable. We always give the public answers. We always call upon the public to come and bring their concern, including bringing them to me. If it is against me, yes, you go and report me to the Inspector General of Police. If it is against me, can report to my immediate supervisor. I'm there, and I will be called to explain or even be held for whatever I've done.
All right, there is one particular concern which was put across by a listener identified as Game, who said, we once told a police officer who assaulted a suspect, an OC moreover, that would report him to PSU, and he offered us directions.
Can I request you, Mr. Kenneth, on behalf of the listeners and all our esteemed panelists who are in there, that is not a standard measure for which you can be able to judge the entire police force. That is an isolated instance. If it is isolated, we handle it as an isolated instance and hold that officer accountable. I want to confide in that gentleman or woman that please bring your concern to the relevant authority. If you go to the DPS and the DPS has not helped you, come to Kampala Metropolitan. Go to KSU. Come to me. We shall be able to hold you.
All right, thank you.
Something that I've heard, that the police is partisan. I don't know what that means. Either by partisan that we put on the uniform is partisan or whatever is partisan. But I want to call upon Ugandans. All of those sentiments will always be there. But understand we are there to serve you indiscriminately. Now, do you mean to say that the annual crime report that we receive, that the template we receive, they come from one party? They come from please.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Fande Muleterwa. Thank you very much for your insights there. Very quickly, I want to give you a few seconds to make your closing remarks, Mr. Ndifuna, as we come out to the end of this show.
Thank you very much. Of course, the project of building a democratic police is one that we should commit to and support government to build and deliver on the democratic police that is accountable, that is responsive, that is professional and respects human rights.
All right.
And this calls for everybody's contribution including making proposals for reform
All right.
of Uganda Police Force.
Ms. Bakota, your final word in a few seconds?
Thank you very much. The law should not just be enforced, but let it be a lived reality and one of dignity for all of us as Ugandans.
All right, with that, we come to the end of Spectrum. Thank you very much, dear guests, and thank you very much, dear listeners, for tuning in and contributing to this discussion. Up next, we have the news in English with Miss Josephine Dagano. Thereafter, we'll have the Soul Train with BB Junior.